mythologies class. This is Luke Greenwood, and for my mythologies presentation, I'm going to be doing it on the missing 411, and that's basically the kind of a cross between cryptozoology and sprinkled with a little bit of paranormal. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So when people think of dangerous places in the US, you think of basically inner cities with high crime rates. And specifically when you think of national parks, you think of picturesque landscapes where you generally don't get hurt. And if you do, it's probably just a twisted ankle or something like that. However, there's a disturbing trend of almost paranormal disappearances across the country, specifically in national parks. David Paulides, a former LA detective, started to put two and two together without the help of the National Park Service. So there's over 90,000 people that are declared missing at any given time. Yosemite and Rainier are the two areas with the largest amount of missing people, and these are what we call hotspots. So David Paulides, a cryptozoologist and ex-detective, like I said, has a strict vetting process about his cases that he looks into. Specifically, no mental health problems, no criminal associations, no assisted disappearance, no predation disappearance, i.e. animals like a bear attacking you and dragging you off. And these cases are of people seemingly disappearing out of thin air. So we got a couple of examples of missing persons that have ended up in either Rainier or Yosemite. This guy on the left, Sam, he disappeared out of thin air. And I actually, when I was in Rainier, I did that same hike that he did just 3 days before. And Alexander, he, like Sam, disappeared out of thin air and just vanished basically with no traces to be found. And another example that I'd like to point out, it's a little story. It's a case in Yosemite as well. Stacy, was a 14-year-old girl and went out on a horseback riding trip with her family in the Yosemite Valley. She decided to take a walk to a nearby lake within earshot, but unfortunately, she never came back. After a thorough 9-day search, the NPS, National Park Service, only came up with a lens cap for her camera. So moving on from the examples of missing persons, here's a map that David Paulides actually compiled that highlights all of the hotspots that people have went missing. Specifically, as you can tell, in California where Yosemite is, and as well up in Washington and that whole panhandle where a lot of national parks are located. So this is a map of the United States national parks and how they correlate to the missing 411 map of the missing persons that just seemingly disappeared. And I would flip back to the previous page, but I'm not too technologically advanced, so sorry about that. So moving on, my question is it Bigfoot? Like I was saying, people disappear and there's found nothing or little to nothing of the remains of the disappeared people, and they seemingly vanish into thin air. Canines can't pick up on anything, and they're sent on their scent, and they're 40 times better than ours. Usually they're found days later, usually dead, miles where they're last seen, and thousands of feet higher in elevation, and almost always found in a spot previously searched. So, my question is, could it be Bigfoot? And here's a map of all the Bigfoot hotspot sightings in the US, and oddly enough, it looks a lot like the missing 411 map that I previously pointed out to you guys and the national parks map. So is there a correlation to that? I don't know. There could be. And to leave you guys with a little thought to ponder and a story is there was a young boy in a forest near a national park, I believe it is in Washington, with his father. The little boy states that a big hairy man or hominid appeared to him and grabbed him. He basically vanished into thin air. The dad didn't know where he went. There's no trace of him at all. Somehow he escapes from the Bigfoot, and he's found later miles away from his campsite. So that's just a very interesting story nonetheless. So my question to you guys is, do you think it's Bigfoot and or other cryptids from the Appalachian mythology? Does that come into question? Or is it just a weird string of events that somehow are uncorrelated? So yeah, give me your thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. I know it's a lot bit longer than required. Somehow it went over 5 minutes, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and here's my works cited page. Cheers.